I'm delighted to be joined today by Charlene Nyantekyi, who is General Manager of Club Wembley for the Football Association, a face I know many of you know already. So Charlene, thank you so much for being with us today. It'd be great just to hear a bit from you about, your role there at Club Wembley, your challenges, and then obviously objectives, both for the short and longer term.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Katie. It's good to see you too, and it's good to kind of be back. But yeah, so I mean, I guess in short, my role at Club Wembley is very much cyclical. So it's all about how we try and ensure we've got the right products, and in order to make sure we've got the right products, we have to do our research to make sure that we are going down the right avenue, that we are either engaging or attracting sort of the right type of members or kind of people that we want to bring into our venues, and then as well as that, sort of obviously once we've done that, it's about obtaining and retaining as many people as possible, which in this climate has just got a little bit trickier, but it's certainly a challenge that we're up for.
And obviously picking up on that about the challenges that the last 18 months have brought, obviously over there in the UK, you are now back in, 100% occupancy and things like that. But have you had to maybe tweak the offering at all? Or, are you seeing guests wanting a slightly different offering, now that we're in this much more sort of almost post-pandemic world?
We have, yeah. I mean, for us, it's kind of been, a journey like all of the other venues out there. So while we were in lockdown, we did utilise a lot of that time to keep talking to our members. So we were putting out surveys to members, just trying to get a bit of a feel for how they were feeling at that time. So, how comfortable they might be coming back to the stadium, whether they would be comfortable coming back if it was at sort of 25% capacity, 50% or 100%. We also tried to engage with them as the vaccine sort of scheme was being rolled out. So again, just trying to understand if people would be comfortable coming back if they'd had one vaccine, two vaccines, or none at all. So we've kind of taken a lot of that information, and we were very fortunate that we were part of the event research programme. So it meant that we had an opportunity to start to bring people back into the stadium, sort of test our hospitality, test the kind of guest journey, before we kind of rolled out full capacity as we did at the beginning of the year when we hosted the Community Shield. So there have been some slight changes. I mean, obviously, signage has been key, making sure that people feel safe, ensuring that they know where to go to be able to sanitize their hands, or areas in which their sort of a face mask is required. We also did quite a lot of sort of pre-event communications as well, trying to explain to people what the changes might be or what to expect when they came back into the venue. And I think what we found is that kind of really did put people's minds at ease. I mean, there certainly have been a lot of changes for us all in terms of what's required to actually access the stadium. So just as a venue, we've had to be really agile and kind of be able to kind of react and then communicate what those changes might be. So whether that be things like showing proof of vaccination, sort of the age in which you have to be to show sort of proof of vaccination to get access to our buildings. And I think ultimately what we have seen is a sort of steady and gradual, but like excitement. So certainly the first few events for us of just being, staff and, visitors just excited to be back at live events. And, that's why we do it.
And, obviously, Wembley is the national stadium for England. So, I suppose the expectation is that, you're at the pinnacle of the game, and, when it comes to not only what's going on the pitch, but obviously the actual facility itself. So, how do you ensure that Wembley sort of retains that world-class offering?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's kind of reiterating the message, but honestly, listening, research, kind of making sure that we're in tune with what people are saying and what they think. I think it's a bit of a challenge for a venue like us, like Wembley. We're so huge, we're so vast. People do look to us to kind of be, the aspiration for all things hospitality. And actually what we kind of really understand and what we really know is unique about us is that a lot of events that people attend to here at our venue is because it really matters. They want to, whether it's experiencing their football club, which we know they can see week in, week out at their own local facilities, but actually when they play at Wembley, it matters so much more. So we really do try and kind of harness that sort of energy in the experience and trying to constantly sort of redevelop, evolve, and engage with people so that when they leave our venue, they've had an absolutely incredible experience that they could only ever have at Wembley Stadium. So kind of honing into that, what Wembley means to people is a lot of what we do to kind of stay at the forefront.
And I know, obviously, then when we met back in Liverpool at ALSD International, you were sharing with me a bit about, developments going on at the stadium. So perhaps you can just tell us a bit about those exciting developments.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, at Wembley, we never sort of stop for very long or pause. So at the moment, we're looking at our private box products. So really kind of looking at this sort of inventory we have, how we want to upgrade the facilities, but also taking the focus a little bit away from the match day and actually seeing what we can do with those spaces on a non-match day. So really, it's about how we kind of can monetize those spaces, all year round. So we're not just kind of reliant on the sort of what we do on the pitch or the events that we host here at Wembley Stadium. So again, we've been working with some external agencies, looking at sort of what other people are doing with their inventory, looking at how much private box inventory new venues especially have at the moment, because we know it has been a declining product that we've seen sort of over the years. So I can't tell you too much about where we're going exactly at the moment, but it's definitely going to be an exciting project that quite a few of us are involved in.
So I'll watch this space, and we'll have to do an interview part 2 to fill people in on those developments. But obviously, as I mentioned, sort of we last saw one another at ALSD International, and I know we've also met up at a few ALSD events over in North America as well. So for you, how important is it, to get together with industry peers at events like those, to sort of share ideas, find what other challenges other people are having, in your role at other venues, what is the sort of the benefit of attending those kinds of events?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's so incredibly important to have this network. I think when you look at what's happened over the past 18 months or so, and how the whole industry has had to really adapt and sort of change to the situation that we have in front of us at the moment. And honestly, I don't think any of us as venues would be able to do that if we didn't have the openness, sort of the platform, the forum, like places like ALSD to be able to do that. So I kind of joke about it a little bit, but I think I said to you at the time down in Liverpool, it almost felt like a big therapy session, having so many people back in the room. I think not only was it brilliant to see so many colleagues, because, there are a lot of us who, have been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic who haven't stuck around. So to see familiar faces, I think, first of all, was just brilliant to have. But for everybody to be so open and sharing what they've been through, how they've reacted, and the challenges that we're still facing today. And actually what we've seen off the back of that is a real kind of desire to kind of proactively help each other through this difficult period, especially in a city like London, where there are so many venues in such a small sort of area. So a great example is looking at staffing challenges that we've all been having. And so being able to work with other venues around how we book and how we share staff is just one example of how we've been really able to help each other to get through this particular time. And we wouldn't be able to do that without sort of platforms like ALSD to connect us.
And then finally, so when it comes to the trends and what you sort of see coming down the line, obviously you've been in sort of premium seating and hospitality for quite a few years at this stage. I know sort of like, was it Arsenal, AEG Europe, you Formula E, and then obviously now obviously at the Football Association. So sort of over the course of your career, you've obviously seen a massive shift in premium and hospitality. But if you could say to people, right, these are the trends to sort of keep a lookout for, or these are the ones that you think are going to be big, what would you say those are?
I mean, I'm not necessarily sure if it's a trend, but I think certainly sustainability. and people really, really well and truly putting sustainability at the forefront of their strategy and how they move forward. And I guess what I mean by this is it's not just about sort of reusable cups or sort of, tangible things that we have inside our facilities. It's about the buildings themselves. So people thinking really longer and hard before you kind of knock down your building and potentially build one down the road. Are you really looking at everything that you can do with the bricks and mortar that you have in front of you? And I think on a sort of slightly more minutiae scale, looking at your facilities as well within your building, it's kind of like, yes, we may need to upgrade, we may need to redevelop, but what can we do in terms of reusing furniture potentially that you've got on that space, or how it can be reused throughout the building, or sort of shared sort of a more broader CSR projects. And I think this all kind of links to how we can really sweat the assets of our buildings a whole year round. So not just kind of necessarily focusing on event days. I think now when you look at some of the developments that some of the venues are doing at the moment, they really are focused on sort of non-event day stuff. So, it would be absolutely criminal, I think, 10, 15 years ago to create a new hospitality lounge that wasn't pitch facing, as an example. Whereas now you'll see sort of more and more that actually not everything needs to be pitch facing. It could be facing into your community spaces, just because those are areas that are going to be used a lot more than maybe your event day hospitality lounges. So I think sustainability, just kind of really thinking about how we reuse sort of our facilities, I think is probably, say the trend, but the way that we need to start moving forward.
Yeah, perfect. Well, I think obviously Charlene now as one of the latest confirmed advisory board members for ALSD International, that can be obviously a topic that we look at more extensively, the sustainability, and obviously then as and when you can talk about the new development. Well, we'll actually have to come over with the camera and finally, do a piece there in Wembley Stadium. So thank you so much for your time, Charlene, and we shall see you very soon.
Thank you, Katie. Take care.
Thank you.